Galaxy Council killed human girl, so Earth unleashed its secret fleet. Part 1. Zara Chen looked out the window of her small room at the Galactic Academy. The stars seemed different here on Centauri Station. They were brighter, more colorful than the ones she could see from Earth. She had been at the Academy for 3 years now, and she still felt amazed every morning when she woke up. At 19 years old, Zara was the first human to become the top student at the Academy. When she first arrived, the other alien students had laughed at her. They thought humans were too new to space travel. They believed humans were not smart enough to understand the complex ways of galactic politics, but Zara proved them wrong. She studied harder than anyone else. She learned 17 different alien languages. She understood the customs and traditions of dozens of different species. Most importantly, she had a gift for solving problems that seemed impossible. Today was the final test before graduation. All the students had to solve a pretend crisis between two alien races. The Siscathari were reptile-like creatures who lived on hot desert planets. The Veltar looked like living crystals and came from cold ice worlds. For 50 years, these two races had been fighting over mining rights to a planet that had both the hot metals the Escathari needed and the cold crystals the Veltar wanted. Many students had tried to solve this problem before. Most suggested splitting the planet in half. Others said one race should buy the rights from the other. But these solutions never worked because both races were too proud to give up what they believed was theirs. Zara had a different idea. She stood up in front of the class, her heart beating fast. Around her sat students from 30 different alien species. Some had multiple heads, others had tentacles instead of arms. Some breathed different gases and had to wear special masks. But they were all smart and they were all watching her. "The problem is not the planet," Zara said in a clear voice. "The problem is that both races think they need to own everything to be safe. But what if they could work together?" She walked to the big screen at the front of the room and showed her plan. "The Sikathari are excellent at building things in hot places. The Veltar are masters at creating technology that works in cold environments. What if they built a shared city on the planet? The Sikathari could mine the hot metals and build structures. The Veltar could harvest the crystals and create the technology to make everything work." The room was quiet. Then a Scathari student named Hisatar raised his clawed hand. "But humans do not understand. My people have been enemies with the crystal beings for centuries. We cannot trust them." Zara nodded. "That's exactly why it will work. When two groups have been enemies for a long time, they know each other's strengths and weaknesses very well. They respect each other, even if they don't like each other. That respect can become the foundation for working together." A Veltar student whose name sounded like musical notes spoke up. "This idea is interesting, but how would we share the profits?" "You wouldn't share profits," Zara said with a smile. "You would create something bigger than profits. Think about it. If the best builders in the galaxy worked with the best technology creators, what could you make? You could build cities on planets that no one else can live on. You could create new inventions that help everyone in the galaxy. Other races would pay huge amounts to learn from you." The teacher, a tall blue alien called Professor Kethmore, looked impressed. "Miss Chen, your solution is unusual. Most students try to find ways to separate conflicting parties. You want to bring them closer together. Sometimes the thing that makes people enemies can become the thing that makes them stronger together," Zara said. "Humans learned this lesson the hard way. We fought each other for thousands of years before we learned to work together." After class, Zara felt proud but tired. She walked through the station's corridors toward her room. The academy was built inside a huge space station that spun slowly to create artificial gravity. Through the windows, she could see ships from hundreds of different worlds docking and leaving. She passed by the offices where the Galaxy Council members worked when they visited the station. The Galaxy Council was made up of the oldest and most powerful alien races. They made the big decisions about trade, war, and peace. Humans had only been allowed to join the council 5 years ago, and they were still considered junior members. As Zara walked past one office, she heard voices speaking in the old galactic language that only council members were supposed to know. She had learned this language secretly by studying old books. What she heard made her stop walking. "The human girl is becoming a problem," said a voice that sounded like grinding rocks. Zara recognized it as belonging to Counselor Vexthul from the hegemony race. "Her ideas about cooperation threaten the natural order. If younger races start believing they can work as equals with their betters, our authority will crumble." "Perhaps an accident could be arranged," said another voice. this one sounding like metal scraping against metal. These young students take so many dangerous trips. Space travel can be risky. Yes, Vexthul agreed. A tragic accident would teach the humans their place. And it would warn other junior species not to reach too high. Zara's blood turned cold. They were talking about killing her. She started to back away quietly, but her foot hit a piece of metal on the floor. The sound echoed in the corridor. The voices inside the office stopped talking immediately. Zara heard footsteps moving toward the door. She ran as fast as she could, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might explode. She made it to her room and locked the door behind her. Her hands were shaking as she tried to think about what to do. Should she tell the academy teachers? Should she contact Earth? Would anyone believe her? Before she could decide, her room's communication system buzzed. A message appeared on her screen. Miss Chen, it read, you have been selected for a special honor trip to visit the crystal mines of Veltar Prime. You will leave tomorrow morning on Shuttle Transport 7749. Congratulations on this opportunity. Zara stared at the message. She had never applied for any honor trip, and after what she had just heard, this felt like a trap. But if she refused to go, they would know she had been listening to their conversation. If she went, she might not come back alive. She spent the whole night thinking about what to do. Finally, she recorded a message and sent it to her parents on Earth. She told them about her solution to the test, about how proud she was to be human, and how much she loved them. She did not tell them about what she had heard, because she was afraid the message might be intercepted. The next morning, Zara walked to the shuttle bay. Other students waved goodbye to her, excited about her special trip. She forced herself to smile and wave back. The shuttle was small and painted white with the Academy's symbol on the side. As the shuttle left the station and headed toward Veltar space, Zara looked back at Centauri Station growing smaller in the distance. She thought about all the friends she had made, all the things she had learned, and all the dreams she had for the future. She did not know that hidden inside the shuttle's navigation system was a small device that would soon change the course of galactic history. She did not know that her death would wake up a sleeping giant that had been quietly preparing for this day. All she knew was that she had tried to make the galaxy a better place, and some people were willing to kill her for it. The news reached Earth 3 days later. David and Maria Chen were eating breakfast in their small kitchen when the official message came through their home communication system. The woman on the screen wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. Mr. and Mrs. Chen, I regret to inform you that your daughter Zara was killed in a shuttle accident near Veltar Prime. The shuttle suffered a navigation failure and collided with an asteroid. There were no survivors. Maria dropped her coffee cup. It shattered on the floor, but she did not notice. David grabbed the edge of the table so hard his knuckles turned white. For several seconds, neither of them could speak. How? Maria finally whispered. Zara was the best student at the academy. She was so careful about everything. The diplomatic officer's voice was gentle but formal. The Galaxy Council has launched a full investigation. Preliminary reports suggest the shuttle's navigation system malfunctioned due to outdated software. The Council extends their deepest condolences and has authorized standard reparations for your loss. After the call ended, David and Maria sat in silence. They had both served in Earth's military before becoming research scientists. They knew what investigations looked like when someone really wanted to find the truth, and they knew what they looked like when someone just wanted to make a problem go away. This doesn't feel right, David said finally. Zara was too smart and too careful to die in a simple accident. Maria nodded, wiping tears from her eyes. And why was she on that shuttle in the first place? She never mentioned any trip to Veltar Prime in her last message. They decided to do their own investigation. David still had friends in Earth's intelligence services, and Maria had contacts among the scientists who studied alien technology. If the Galaxy Council was hiding something, they would find out what it was. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, news of Zara's death spread quickly through the galactic communication networks. Most alien species barely noticed. Humans were still new to galactic civilization, and one dead human student was not considered important news. But the Galaxy Council noticed. At their next meeting, Counselor Vexthul stood before the assembled representatives of dozens of worlds. The unfortunate accident involving the human student should serve as a reminder, he said in his grinding voice. Younger species often overestimate their abilities. Perhaps we have been too generous in allowing them access to advanced diplomatic training. Another counselor, a spider-like creature from the Arachnid Collective, clicked her approval. The humans have shown concerning levels of ambition. They propose radical changes to systems that have worked for thousands of years. Perhaps it is time to guide them more carefully. Over the following weeks, new restrictions began to appear. Human merchant ships found their trade routes suddenly classified as high-risk zones that required expensive safety escorts. Human diplomatic missions were delayed for additional security reviews. Most importantly, the Galaxy Council quietly began spreading stories about human recklessness and emotional instability. You see how they react to simple setbacks, Vexthul told other council members. The humans lack the emotional control necessary for serious galactic responsibilities. We must protect the galaxy from their impulsive nature. But the Galaxy Council had made a critical error. They assumed that the Earth they saw was the only Earth that existed. They knew about Earth's small defensive fleet and modest space stations. They knew about human trade ships and diplomatic missions. What they did not know about was the Terra Defense Initiative. Admiral Sarah Hayes stood in the command center of a facility that officially did not exist. Built inside a hollowed-out asteroid in the Kuiper Belt, Station Omega was one of 12 hidden bases where Earth had been preparing for exactly this kind of situation. Sarah was Zara's aunt, David's younger sister. She had left home at 18 to join the military and had risen through the ranks by being smarter and tougher than everyone around her. When Earth made first contact with alien civilizations, Sarah had been one of the few humans who understood what that really meant. First contact is not a party invitation, she had told the Earth Defense Council 20 years ago. It's a job interview, and if we fail the interview, we might not get a second chance. The Terra Defense Initiative had been created based on a simple idea: hope for peace, but prepare for war. While Earth's public face showed a small, peaceful civilization eager to join the galactic community, the secret face was very different. Hidden in asteroid belts, behind moon bases, and in deep space facilities, Earth had been building weapons and ships that the Galaxy Council could not imagine. Human engineers had reverse-engineered captured alien technology and improved it in ways that alien scientists had never considered. The crown jewel of the secret fleet was a ship that Sarah had named Terra's Pride. It was larger than any known alien warship and equipped with technology that bent the rules of physics in dangerous new ways. But when news of Zara's death reached her, Sarah renamed the ship. It would now be called Zara's Vengeance. "Ma'am," said Commander Torres, Sarah's second-in-command, "we've received the preliminary investigation report from the Galaxy Council. They're calling it an accident caused by outdated navigation software." Sarah read the report on her screen and felt her anger growing. Outdated software? That shuttle was inspected just 1 week ago. The navigation system was certified as fully functional. "There's more, ma'am. Our intelligence sources are reporting new restrictions on human activities throughout the galaxy. Trade routes are being closed, diplomatic missions are being delayed, and there are rumors that some council members want to review Earth's membership status." Sarah stood up and walked to the window that looked out into space. In the distance, she could see other hidden ships preparing for operations that might soon become necessary. "Commander, contact our agents at the Academy. I want everything they can find about that shuttle, about Zara's last days, and about who authorized her trip to Veltar Prime." "Yes, ma'am. And if we find evidence that this was not an accident?" Sarah turned back to face him, and Torres could see the cold determination in her eyes. "Then the Galaxy Council is about to learn something important about humans. They're about to learn the difference between being peaceful and being weak." 3 weeks later, the breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Crystalline Song of Truth was a young Veltar student who had been friends with Zara at the Academy. Like all of her species, she communicated through musical tones and had a natural ability to detect lies and deception. She had been bothered by Zara's death since it happened. Something about the official story felt wrong to her crystal-enhanced senses. Using her access to Academy computer systems, she began investigating on her own. What she found made her entire crystalline body vibrate with alarm. The shuttle's data log showed energy signatures that did not match any known navigation malfunction. Instead, they matched the pattern of a sophisticated sabotage device. More importantly, she found records showing that Zara's honor trip had been authorized not by Academy teachers, but by someone using Counselor Vexthul's personal access codes. Knowing that her own people would not want to get involved in human politics, Crystalline's Song of Truth made a dangerous decision. She encrypted the data using a human cipher she had learned from Zara and transmitted it directly to Earth. When Admiral Hayes saw the evidence, she called an emergency meeting of Earth's Secret Defense Council. The proof was clear. Zara Chen had been murdered by the Galaxy Council, and they were now trying to use her death as an excuse to limit human freedom. "Gentlemen and ladies," Sarah said to the assembled leaders, "we have spent 20 years preparing for the possibility that the galaxy might not welcome us as equals. That day has arrived. The vote was unanimous. If the Galaxy Council wanted to see what humans were really capable of, they would get their wish." Operation Zara's Light was about to begin. Admiral Hayes stood in the briefing room of Station Omega, looking at the holographic display that showed the positions of Earth's secret fleet. For 20 years, humanity had been building these ships in hidden facilities, scattered throughout the solar system. The Galaxy Council believed Earth had maybe 50 warships. The truth was that Earth had over 300, and each one was equipped with technology that would shock the alien powers. "Admiral," said Dr. Elizabeth Warren, Earth's chief scientist for the Terra Defense Initiative, "the quantum phase generators are ready for deployment. All ships in the Ghost Fleet have been equipped with the new dimensional shift drives." Sarah nodded. The dimensional shift drives were humanity's greatest secret weapon. While alien ships could travel faster than light through hyperspace, they still had to follow the normal rules of physics. Human ships could now phase shift between dimensions, allowing them to appear and disappear almost instantly. It was like having the ability to turn invisible and walk through walls at the same time. "What about the reality anchor?" Sarah asked. Dr. Warren smiled grimly. "Installed and tested on the Zara's Vengeance. When activated, it creates a field that locks down all dimensional travel and faster-than-light communication within a 3-light-year radius. Any alien fleet caught in that field will be trapped in normal space with no way to call for help." The reality anchor was based on technology that humans had discovered by accident while trying to improve their own FTL drives. Alien scientists had always assumed that dimensional barriers were fixed and unchangeable. Humans had discovered they could be manipulated, controlled, and even weaponized. Commander Torres entered the room carrying a data tablet. "Admiral, we've completed our analysis of the evidence from Crystalline's Song of Truth." The sabotage device used on Zara's shuttle was definitely of hegemony origin. Only someone with high-level council access could have obtained it. And the authorization for Zara's trip? Councillor Vexthol's personal codes were used, but the authorization was backdated to make it look official. "Our computer experts say there's no doubt it was inserted into the system after Zara was already dead." Sarah felt her anger burning cold and steady. Zara had been murdered not for anything she had done but for what she represented. She had shown that humans could be equals in galactic civilization, and that had been too dangerous for the Council's power structure. "Send the ultimatum," Sarah ordered. Across the galaxy, every major communication network suddenly carried the same broadcast. The transmission bypassed all normal channels and appeared on screens in government buildings, military bases, news stations, and public areas on thousands of worlds. Admiral Hayes appeared on the screens, wearing the crisp uniform of Earth's military. Behind her was the symbol of the Terra Defense Initiative, a blue and green Earth surrounded by stars. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began, her voice calm but carrying an undertone of controlled fury. "I am Admiral Sarah Hayes of the Earth Defense Forces. I speak to you today about the murder of my niece Zara Chen and the Galaxy Council's attempts to cover up their crime." The broadcast then showed all the evidence that Crystalline's Song of Truth had gathered: the sabotage device's energy signature, the backdated authorization codes, the analysis of the shuttle's final moments. Everything laid out in clear, undeniable detail. "For 50 years," Sarah continued, "Earth has participated in galactic civilization as a peaceful member. We have followed the Council's rules, paid their fees, and accepted their guidance. We believed that intelligence and good faith would be enough to earn us a place among the stars." The scene shifted to show images of Zara at the academy, studying with alien classmates, solving complex diplomatic problems, receiving awards for academic excellence. Zara Chen represented the best of humanity. She believed that understanding was stronger than fear, that cooperation could overcome conflict, and that all intelligent species could work together for a better galaxy. The Galaxy Council killed her for those beliefs. Now the broadcast showed something that made viewers across the galaxy gasp in shock. Massive human warships were decloaking around major alien installations. Ships that were clearly more advanced than anything the galaxy had seen before, hung in space like silent threats. The Galaxy Council has spent the week since Zara's murder, spreading lies about human recklessness and instability. They have restricted our trade, delayed our diplomatic missions, and suggested that humans are not ready for galactic civilization. They have mistaken our restraint for weakness. The camera focused on Sarah's face, and alien viewers could see the cold determination in her human eyes. I hereby demand that Counselor Vexthal and all others involved in my niece's murder surrender themselves to Earth authorities within 72 hours. They will face trial for assassination, conspiracy, and crimes against galactic peace. If they do not surrender voluntarily, we will come for them. The broadcast showed more images of the Ghost Fleet, hundreds of ships appearing from nowhere around Council strongholds and military bases. The ships were clearly human in design, but far more advanced than anything Earth had publicly displayed. For too long, the Galaxy Council has maintained power through fear, corruption, and the assumption that younger species cannot challenge their authority. Today, that assumption dies with my niece's memory. Admiral Hayes leaned forward slightly, and her voice became even more intense. We do not want war. We want justice. But if the Council believes they can murder innocent humans and face no consequences, they are about to learn how wrong they are. This is not conquest. This is a reckoning. The broadcast ended with images of Earth itself, showing the planet's cities, forests, and oceans. The final words appeared as text, in memory of Zara Chen, who believed the galaxy could be better than it was. The reaction was immediate and explosive. On the Hegemony homeworld, Counselor Vexthal watched the broadcast from his private office and felt something he had not experienced in centuries: fear. The human ships surrounding his planet were clearly more advanced than Hegemony technology. Worse, they had appeared without any warning from his sensors. How is this possible? He demanded of his military advisors. Our intelligence report said the humans had barely 50 warships, all of them primitive. The reports were wrong, Counselor, said General Kreshitar, studying the scanner readings. These ships are using technology we don't understand. They appeared inside our defensive perimeter without triggering any alarms. Our shields didn't even detect them. On other Council worlds, similar scenes were playing out. Species that had dominated galactic politics for thousands of years suddenly found themselves face to face with a human fleet that made their own military forces look obsolete. But it wasn't just the Council that was watching. Across the galaxy, billions of beings from hundreds of species saw the evidence of Zara's murder and began asking questions. How many other accidents had really been assassinations? How many times had the Council eliminated inconvenient voices? On the crystal world of Veltar Prime, Crystal and Song of Truth's family gathered around her in amazement. You helped the humans discover the truth? Her parent asked in musical tones that conveyed both pride and worry. Zara was my friend, she replied. She believed that truth was more important than safety. I could not let her killers escape justice. The Galaxy Council called an emergency session, but for the first time in centuries, many member species demanded answers before they would participate. The systematic oppression that had kept younger races subservient was beginning to crumble as the truth spread. Counselor Vexthal tried to maintain his authority. This is clearly a human deception, he announced. They are using lies and threats to destabilize galactic order. We must stand firm against this aggression. But other Council members were beginning to have doubts. The evidence was extremely detailed and technically sophisticated. More importantly, the human fleet was clearly real and more powerful than anyone had imagined. Perhaps, suggested Counselor Merthak of the Aquatic Federation, we should consider the possibility that the humans are telling the truth. Vexthal's response revealed his desperation. The truth? The truth is that humans are an inferior species that has gotten above itself. This girl was spreading dangerous ideas about cooperation and equality. Her death was a service to galactic stability. The moment those words left his mouth, Vexthal realized his mistake. He had just confessed to murder in front of the entire Council. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. On Earth, Admiral Hayes received the recording of Vexthal's confession within minutes. She smiled grimly and gave the order that would change everything. Phase 2 is authorized. It's time to show the galaxy what justice looks like. The first target was Nexus Prime, the massive military station that served as headquarters for the hegemony fleet. The station was considered impregnable, protected by energy shields that could stop planet-killing weapons, and defended by over 200 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. Captain Maria Santos commanded the strike force aboard the Zara's Vengeance. She had been one of the test pilots for the dimensional shift technology, and she understood better than anyone what human ships could now do. "All ships prepare for quantum phase insertion," she announced over the communication system. "Remember, this is a precision operation. We're here to capture criminals, not start a war." The hegemony defenders never saw them coming. One moment, their scanners showed empty space around the station. The next moment, 30 human ships materialized inside the defensive perimeter, having bypassed the shields entirely by shifting through dimensional space. Admiral Kreshtar, commanding the hegemony fleet, stared at his screens in disbelief. "How did they get through the shields? Our barriers are impenetrable." "Sir," reported his sensor officer, "they didn't go through the shields. They went around them. These readings suggest they traveled through a parallel dimension and emerged in normal space inside our defenses." Before Kreshtar could respond, the Zara's Vengeance activated its reality anchor. Suddenly, the entire hegemony fleet found itself unable to enter hyperspace. Their faster-than-light communication systems went dead. They were trapped. Captain Santos opened a communication channel to the hegemony fleet. "This is Captain Santos of the Earth vessel Zara's Vengeance. You are ordered to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Anyone who resists will be disabled but not destroyed." Kreshtar's pride overcame his common sense. "You dare give orders to the hegemony fleet? We have defended this galaxy for 3,000 years. Attack!" The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. The hegemony ships opened fire with weapons that could crack moons in half. But the human ships simply phase-shifted out of normal space when the energy beams reached them, letting the attacks pass harmlessly through empty dimensions. When the human ships returned to normal space, they struck back with weapons that the hegemony had never seen before. Electromagnetic pulse cannons shut down alien computer systems. Gravitational manipulators grabbed enemy ships and held them motionless. Boarding pods that could phase through solid matter delivered human marines directly into alien ship corridors. The most shocking thing was that the humans were clearly holding back. Their weapons were designed to disable, not destroy. When hegemony crew members were captured, they were treated with medical care and respect. The humans could have slaughtered the entire fleet, but they chose restraint. "Sir," reported the sensor officer on Admiral Kreshtar's flagship, "our weapons are having no effect. The human ships disappear before our shots reach them, and their return fire is shutting down our systems without killing our crews." Kreshtar watched as ship after ship in his fleet was disabled and boarded. The humans moved with precision and efficiency that spoke of years of planning. This was not a desperate attack. It was a carefully orchestrated operation. "Stand down," he finally ordered. "All ships cease fire and prepare for boarding." Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. Human strike teams materialized in government buildings on a dozen worlds, moving through security systems that could not detect dimensional travelers. Counselor Vexthal was captured in his private chambers while trying to destroy evidence of his crimes. Other council members involved in the conspiracy were taken from their homes, their offices, even from the middle of official meetings. The operations were surgical and precise. Human agents knew exactly where to find their targets and exactly how to reach them. Years of secret intelligence gathering had mapped every council stronghold and identified every conspirator. But the most important battle was not being fought with weapons. It was being fought with information. Dr. Rebecca Kim, Earth's chief information warfare specialist, coordinated the broadcast of evidence from a secret facility on Luna. Every major news network in the galaxy was simultaneously receiving detailed documentation of council corruption going back centuries. "Release Package 7, she ordered her team. "Financial records showing how the council has been manipulating trade routes to benefit their own species." "Package 8 is ready," reported her assistant. Evidence of the council using accidents to eliminate political opponents from at least 12 different species. "And Package 9? The big one. Proof that the council has been deliberately preventing younger species from developing advanced technology to keep them dependent. The revelations were devastating. Species that had wondered why their technological development had stalled suddenly understood that it had been sabotaged. Trade disputes that had seemed random were revealed to be orchestrated. Political leaders who had died in accidents were shown to have been murdered. On the water world of Aquatica, Councillor Murthak watched the broadcasts with growing horror. She had served on the council for 60 years, believing she was helping to maintain galactic peace. Now she realized she had been part of a system of oppression and murder. "How did I not know?" she asked her aide, her aquatic features twisted with shame. "How could I have been so blind?" "The humans have presented very convincing evidence," her aide replied carefully. "It appears that many council operations were kept secret even from other council members. Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. Council members who had not been part of the conspiracy realized they had been used as cover for crimes they never imagined. Member species began demanding answers and accountability. The breaking point came when Vexthul, now in human custody aboard the Zara's Vengeance, was given the chance to defend himself in a live broadcast to the entire galaxy. His arrogance proved to be his downfall. "You want the truth?" He snarled at the camera, his reptilian features twisted with rage. "Yes, I ordered the death of the human girl. Yes, we have eliminated threats to galactic stability for centuries. The Council's authority comes from our superiority, not from the consent of inferior species." He leaned forward, his eyes glowing with fanatic certainty. "Humans are upstarts who refuse to accept their proper place. The girl was spreading dangerous ideas about equality and cooperation. If we had allowed her to live, she would have inspired other lesser species to challenge the natural order." Captain Santos, standing beside him, looked directly into the camera. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all species, you have just heard Councillor Vexthul confess to murder and conspiracy. He has also revealed the true nature of the Galaxy Council's authority. It is not based on wisdom or consent, but on the belief that some species are naturally superior to others." The confession destroyed what little credibility the Council had left. Across the galaxy, member species began withdrawing from Council authority. Trade agreements were cancelled. Military cooperation was suspended. The political structure that had dominated galactic civilization for millennia was collapsing. But Admiral Hayes was not finished. In a second broadcast to the galaxy, she outlined humanity's vision for what would come next. "Citizens of the galaxy," she said, standing on the bridge of the Zara's Vengeance with Vexthul's confession playing on screens behind her. "Earth does not seek to replace the Galaxy Council's tyranny with our own. We seek something that has never existed in galactic history: true equality among all intelligent species." She gestured to the star charts showing human ships positioned throughout Council space. "Our fleet will remain deployed until all conspirators have been captured and all evidence of corruption has been secured. But we are not conquerors. We are liberators." The camera focused on Sarah's face, and billions of beings across the galaxy could see the sincerity in her human eyes. "My niece believed that understanding was stronger than fear, that cooperation could overcome conflict, and that all intelligent species deserved dignity and respect. She died for those beliefs. Now it is up to all of us to make her dream a reality." On the crystal world of Veltar Prime, Crystalline Song of Truth felt her entire body resonating with hope for the first time since Zara's death. Around the galaxy, other young beings from dozens of species felt the same emotion. Change was coming. The old order was dead, and something new was about to be born. 6 months after the fall of the Galaxy Council, the trial of Councillor Vexthul and his conspirators began on Earth. The proceedings were broadcast live to every world in the galaxy, watched by billions of beings who wanted to see justice finally served. Judge Patricia Williams, a former Earth Supreme Court justice, presided over the trial. The courtroom had been specially built to accommodate representatives from dozens of alien species, with different atmospheric requirements and gravity fields to ensure everyone could participate. "This court," Judge Williams announced, "will determine guilt or innocence based on evidence and law, not on species or political power. Every defendant has the right to legal representation, the right to present evidence in their defense, and the right to a fair trial." The evidence presented was overwhelming. Financial records showed decades of corruption. Communication logs revealed the conspiracy to murder Zara and cover it up. Most damning of all was Vexthul's own confession, played repeatedly for the court and the galaxy to hear. Vexthul's defense attorney, a human lawyer named James Rodriguez who had volunteered to represent him, tried to argue that his client had been acting for the greater good of galactic stability. My client believed, rightly or wrongly, that he was protecting an order that had brought peace to the galaxy for thousands of years, Rodriguez argued. He saw the human student as a threat to that stability. Prosecutor Lisa Zhang, speaking for the victims, responded with quiet intensity. Your Honor, the defendant has admitted to murdering a 19-year-old girl whose only crime was believing that all intelligent species deserved equal respect. He killed her not to protect peace but to protect his own power. She gestured to the gallery where David and Maria Chen sat with other families of the council's victims. Zara Chen was not a threat to galactic stability. She was a threat to galactic tyranny, and that is exactly why she had to die, and exactly why her killers must face justice. The trial lasted 3 weeks. When it ended, Bexthal and his co-conspirators were found guilty on all charges. They were sentenced to life imprisonment under conditions that would prevent them from ever again harming innocents. But the real victory was not the trial itself. It was what had been built while the trial was taking place. The Galactic Federation of Free Worlds held its founding convention on the neutral planet of Haven, a world that had been jointly terraformed by 12 different species working together. Unlike the old Galaxy Council, which had been dominated by ancient powers, the Federation was based on principles that Zara Chen would have recognized. Every species, regardless of age or technological development, had an equal vote. Decisions were made by consensus and debate, not by the dictates of the powerful. Most importantly, the Federation's charter included protections for individual rights that applied to all intelligent beings. Admiral Hayes, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, and serving as Earth's representative to the Federation, stood at the podium to address the assembled delegates. Representatives from over 200 species filled the Great Hall, some breathing different atmospheres, some existing as energy beings, some communicating through colors or vibrations instead of sound. We gathered today not as conquerors and conquered, not as superior and inferior species, but as equals in our shared quest for a better galaxy, she said. The Federation we are founding will be imperfect, because it will be run by imperfect beings. But it will be just because justice is our foundation. She paused and looked out at the diverse assembly. My niece Zara Chen dreamed of a day when understanding would be stronger than fear, when cooperation would overcome conflict, and when all intelligent species could work together in mutual respect. Today that dream becomes reality. The applause that followed was unlike anything ever heard in galactic history. It was not the polite clapping of diplomatic protocol, but the genuine enthusiasm of beings who had been freed from centuries of oppression. Crystalline's Song of Truth, now serving as the Veltar representative, resonated with joy so pure that every other crystal being in the hall began to vibrate in harmony. The musical sound filled the chamber with hope. The Federation's first major project was the construction of the Zara Chen Memorial Academy on Haven. Unlike the old Galactic Academy, which had been designed to train diplomats in the art of managing existing power structures, the new academy would teach students to imagine better futures. The academy's curriculum was revolutionary. Students learned not just the history and customs of different species, but also how to solve problems through cooperation rather than domination. They studied cases where young civilizations had been suppressed by the old council, and worked together to find better solutions. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the Academy's first director, had been one of Zara's professors at the old Galactic Academy. She designed the new school based on principles that Zara had embodied. We will teach our students that diversity is strength, she announced at the Academy's opening ceremony. We will show them that the newest voice in the room might have the best idea. And we will never let them forget that understanding is indeed stronger than fear. The first graduating class included students from 47 different species. They worked together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. Joint colonies where multiple species shared worlds, trade agreements based on mutual benefit rather than exploitation, and scientific research that combined the unique abilities of different races. But perhaps the most important change was in how the galaxy thought about itself. For millennia, galactic civilization had been based on the idea that some species were naturally superior to others. That idea was dead, killed by the revelation of the Council's crimes and the demonstration of humanity's unexpected strength. Young beings across the galaxy began to dream bigger dreams. On the desert world of Siskathar Prime, a young reptilian engineer named Brightscale of Innovation, proposed a joint project with the Veltar to build cities that could survive on planets with extreme temperature variations. Her proposal was accepted enthusiastically, and the first such city was already under construction. On the gas giant of Windweaver, floating jellyfish-like beings who had been dismissed as primitive by the old council revealed their mastery of atmospheric manipulation. They became partners with Earth in terraforming projects that created new worlds for species that needed specific environments. The old Galaxy Council had maintained power by keeping species separate and suspicious of each other. The Federation grew stronger by bringing species together and encouraging them to learn from each other. Admiral Hayes often visited Zara's grave on Earth, a simple stone marker in a hillside cemetery overlooking the city where she had grown up. The inscription read, "Zara Chen, daughter, student, dreamer." She believed the galaxy could be better than it was. "We did it, Zara," Sarah said during one of these visits, looking up at the stars that were no longer dominated by tyrants. "The galaxy is finally becoming the place you believed it could be." David and Maria Chen had established a scholarship fund in their daughter's name, helping young beings from developing worlds attend the new academy. They received letters from students across the galaxy, all of them inspired by Zara's story to work for a better future. The Ghost Fleet still patrolled the galaxy, but now they served as guardians of the new order rather than instruments of revenge. Human ships worked alongside vessels from dozens of other species, protecting trade routes and responding to emergencies with a speed and efficiency that the old council had never achieved. The Federation was not perfect. There were still disputes between species, still challenges to overcome, still problems to solve. But now these challenges were met with cooperation instead of oppression, with understanding instead of fear. 10 years after Zara's death, the galaxy had become a place she would have been proud to see. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now partners in exploration and discovery. Young civilizations were encouraged to develop and contribute their unique perspectives. Most importantly, no one had to fear being murdered for dreaming of a better future. At the 10th anniversary memorial service, Crystallines' Song of Truth played, a composition she had written in Zara's honor. The music told the story of a young human who had believed in the power of understanding and whose death had awakened the galaxy to justice. As the Crystal Beings' song filled the memorial hall, beings from hundreds of worlds listened in reverent silence. They were remembering not just Zara Chen, but all the victims of the old order, and celebrating the new galaxy that had been built from their sacrifice. The song ended with a single, pure note that seemed to hang in the air forever, a promise that Zara's dream would live on in every generation of students who learned that understanding was indeed stronger than fear, that cooperation could overcome any conflict, and that even the smallest light could illuminate the darkness. The galaxy had finally become worthy of her faith in tomorrow.